up, guys? Welcome back to week 115 of the Wrestling Rundown. We're gonna do things a little bit different here. We're gonna talk about the Raw matches specifically here for the Raw review and what they translated into on the following Monday Night Raw. We'll do the same thing tomorrow with SmackDown, and we'll see how that goes. So right off the bat, we're gonna talk about the stuff that didn't have any implications from SummerSlam. We had a ridiculously long Titus O'Neil segment that was not necessary.
Yeah, where he assaulted an old man.
Yeah. And then assaulted a gay black man. What is wrong with you, Titus?
Titus stooping to the newest of lows.
God. We hope that both Bob Backlund and Darren Young are okay, and we hope that repercussions are met for Titus O'Neil.
Absolutely.
We also
How dare you attack a WWE Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Would you do that to Ric Flair? Greg Valentine?
He probably would.
Jimmy Hart?
He'd definitely go after Greg Valentine.
Oh, I forgot about it. Bad example. Oops.
Moving on. Braun Strowman defeated a man who decided to face him because he liked big, sweaty men, that being Johnny Knockout. And Braun Strowman beat him twice. Because once wasn't enough.
Yeah, he beat him with his reverse chokeslam the first time, won the match, and then he hit a finisher that he started to use while he was in the Wyatt family. Looks like maybe he's planning on bringing that one back.
He's just trying to use as many dominant moves as he possibly can.
And then he forced the referee to count to 3 again.
Yeah. And then Byron goes, so does that count as 2 wins?
And I say yes.
All right.
Because I'm not going to argue with Braun Strowman.
Good point. We also found out that on September 19th, that will be the debut of the Cruiserweight division on Monday Night Raw. And we did have some people highlighted in this video. Not sure if they're going to be the ones coming over, but we did have Rich Swann, Noam Dar, and Brian Kendrick all specifically have points in this preview. So that could be 3 of the members we see coming forward. I would hope that Cedric Alexander is part of that group as well.
And we know there's some guys who are signed that have been appearing on NXT. Because Kota Ibushi signed a contract with WWE, so has Grand Metalik. And so has...
We saw Sean Maluda, we've seen Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, they both have made appearances on NXT. Lindsay Dorado has also signed a deal with WWE. So.
Yeah. So we'll find out on the 19th, because I do believe that is the Raw after the finals.
Yes.
That'll be the finals of the Cruiserweight Classic, and the following Raw we'll see the Cruiserweight debut. So that should be interesting to see. So let's start talking about stuff that happened at SummerSlam. We're gonna go from beginning to end as far as Raw matches are concerned, and see what happened the following Raw. The pre-show, one of the 2 pre-show Raw matches was Sami Zayn and Neville taking on the Dudley Boys. This was a last-minute addition, probably to get Sami Zayn on the card.
Yeah.
And this kind of went the way we expected it to. It was the Dudleys jobbing out to...
It was a rematch from that previous Raw.
Oh yeah, where they were picking on Neville and he found himself a partner. Yeah. Neville and Sami make a fun tag team.
Yeah,
they do.
They've got good chemistry.
I'd prefer to see them, especially Sami, as a single star. But it was fun to watch for the time being. More miscommunication between Bubba and Devon, and Bubba ends up clotheslining Devon out of the ring, gets a haluva kick and the red arrow, and Sami Zayn and Neville pick up the win. So then Sami Zayn and Neville went on to do much bigger things on Monday Night Raw, which we'll get to in a second, but the Dudleys announced their retirement.
Yeah.
And said that they were going out on their own terms. They had a nice long speech. Both of them had some very positive things to say about I can't believe they've been back in WWE for a year now.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they've said repeatedly throughout their entire career after leaving WWE in 2006.
Yeah.
That they always wanted to end their career with one more run in the WWE.
Yeah, they knew that that's where their last run was going to be.
The downside for me is that they never won their 10th championship.
Yeah, well, so we'll go into the rest of what happened here. Is I'm very confused as to, was this to put over the teams that were involved afterwards, or was this just to revitalize the need for the Dudleys in the tag division. Because as they were getting ready to do their final send-off, they were interrupted by the Shining Stars, who they ended up beating down for the most part, hitting a 3D on Epico, and then hitting the What's Up on Primo. Went to put Primo through a table until they were attacked by Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah.
So
Gallows and Anderson did a number on them too.
Yeah, and ended up hitting the Magic Killer on Devon through the table that was set up.
Yeah, and they did the Boot of Doom, I think, to Bubba on the outside.
Yeah, they took Bubba out on the outside, and so now I'm wondering, was this just the last moment to put over the Shining Stars and the club, specifically the club, because they're the ones that walked away looking strong. But is this just hey, remember the Dudleys are awesome. See how these people love the Dudleys. Are the Dudleys actually done?
Yeah, it's hard telling.
Yeah,
there was no real closure to the segment.
Yeah, there was a bit that they posted on their Facebook where the Dudleys hobbled away and I think Bubba threw up the horns that he usually does, and that was about it, and they kind of just walked away. So we don't really know exactly what the end game for this was.
Yeah, so if it means that the Dudleys are going to stick around for one more feud, that's cool.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, not a bad way to do it. You don't get a lot of interrupted retirement speeches.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if this was specifically to put the crew over, the club, the crew.
We're not talking about Lucha Underground.
I miss it so much. It's back in a few weeks.
A couple more weeks.
No, if this is to put over Gallows and Anderson, then that's a big feather in the cap for them.
Yeah.
Specifically in WWE TV, because that's going to be something they're going to be able to ride for a minute. Check us out, boo us because we're the ones who sent the Dudleys away with their tails between their legs.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. The other Raw pre-show match was the first of the best of 7 series between Sheamus and Cesaro. This was Sheamus and Cesaro. It's a good fight. And Cesaro got a little fancy using those new giant ring posts that they had with the LED boards, and used it to do a little springy crossbody onto Sheamus.
Sheamus is a good opponent for Cesaro, because you don't get a lot of times where Cesaro's going against somebody who Cesaro can kind of almost act cruiserweighty with.
Yeah.
But he can do that with somebody like Sheamus, because Sheamus is big enough to handle the impact of somebody Cesaro's size coming off the top rope with big moves.
Yeah.
It's a good so that cool springing cross body was something that you probably wouldn't have seen had he been going against Neville or
definitely not
somebody smaller.
Yeah. And so Sheamus ended up taking the first in the best of 7 after hitting a bro kick on Cesaro. Decent fight.
Sheamus. The big thing is he poked him in the eye.
Yeah.
Poked him in the eye.
He got a heel win.
Posted him on the giant fucking telephone pole. And then bro kicked him.
Yeah.
He cheated.
And then
that's what I'm trying to get over. Sheamus is a fucking cheat. Can't win.
Sheamus had a promo on Raw saying that he feels very confident that with the win over Cesaro, he's more than likely going to be taking the best of 7 series.
Well, too bad Cesaro's going to take the next 4 in a row.
Then we move on to the main card of SummerSlam, where we open up with Enzo and Cass versus Jericho. I really enjoyed this tag team match.
Yeah.
This was a good opener. It was a lot. It was a lot more than I expected. I expected it to be almost let's put over Enzo and Cass as much as we can, but they really focused on how well Jericho and Owens can work together as well.
Yeah, well, it's sort of their goal was to go, no, we're not just a throw together tag team. We're actually best friends.
It was, and their interactions with each other is just fucking classic. It's unfucking believable. We had Owens take out Cass on the outside, and then Kevin Owens breaks up a pin after Enzo hits what he calls the DDG, which is the jumping DDT off the second rope, and he ends up getting into an arc. He starts to fight off Kevin Owens, and then Owens tosses him into the ropes and sets him up for a pop-up powerbomb. Instead, sends him over, and he gets hit with a pop-up codebreaker, which had a nasty landing on it.
Yeah.
That didn't look fun at all. And Jericho pick up the tag team win at SummerSlam. And
potentially why Enzo didn't wrestle on Raw.
Good point.
He might have been a little dazed.
Yeah, we'll talk more about these two teams because they were actually all involved in the big major storyline on Monday Night Raw, so we'll get to that in a second. We had the Women's Championship match, which was actually match number 2 on the show. Sasha Banks defending against Charlotte.
Great match.
Absolute. I mean, other than the small bit where they just had 2 moves that did not work, they covered that up so well and had another classic match between the two of them. And
it's one of those the matches they have are good enough that having that moment, they don't even need to cover up that something went wrong, but just having that moment doesn't deter from the fact that the match was really good.
Yeah, no, initially when watching it, I ended up watching it a second time with you. The first time, me and the people I was watching with, we were very concerned as to what was, why were they not on their usual game? It seemed very out of place for these two ladies. But then to watch them really pick up the momentum and keep the crowd as into the match as they possibly could it was amazing to watch.
And I tell you, I haven't been so nervous in such a long time as when Charlotte was setting up for the Razor's Edge off the ropes.
After the botched sidewalk slam, I was terrified anytime one of them went to the top rope.
Yeah.
It was a very heart-racing match. And yeah, to see Sasha hit the Rana out of that move, and then also on the other side when they were going, Charlotte was setting up for a superplex, and then Sasha did the double knees to the outside.
Yeah.
Just some amazing high risk in this match, and Sasha on multiple occasions locking in the bank statement.
Yeah.
She had it on at least 3 times where she was not letting Charlotte go. And unfortunately, that was her undoing, is that Charlotte found a way to roll Sasha back and hook the leg, and Charlotte pinned Sasha Banks and became a 2-time WWE Women's Champion. We did find out that this is because Sasha is still hurt, and is going to be gone for at least a month. We now know that whatever her injury is, it's not going to require surgery, which is good, so she'll be back sooner than they expect. But we have Charlotte as a women's champion. And then afterwards, we're thinking, okay, well, who is going to be taking up this spot to face Charlotte when Paige is suspended, Sasha's hurt? Your only other options are Nia Jax, Alicia Fox, or Dana Brooke.
Yeah, and I had 2 different theories initially because I thought, well, maybe Dana Brooke will turn on Charlotte. Because we did have the last 2 weeks where Charlotte was sort of really being depreciative of Dana Brooke and her services.
Yeah.
Which is, good classic heel group leader work, is always trash on your lackeys.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was possible for Nia Jax to get a small momentum of a face turn, the same way they started doing with Karma right before she left WWE.
Yeah.
On her pregnancy leave.
Yeah, when she was doing the bit with the Bellas.
And I thought that might have been fair to her because she didn't get any time as the NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah.
She
had a couple shots, but
she challenged for it with Bayley and she challenged for it with Asuka, but that was as close as she got.
Yeah. So we have Charlotte coming out, talking about how she took out Sasha Banks. Dana Brooke is praising her. She's saying that the crowd should be chanting for her. She's a 2-time women's champion.
She didn't need help to win the match.
Yeah, she did.
Which was a valid point.
That is the one valid point she had, is that she did it all by herself, and it was a great match. And so she assumed that she was going to get the night off. Well, Mick Foley had, a little bit of a swerve in this plan.
Holy Foley!
Holy Foley! That's going to be an expression we start using. Foley comes out and lets Charlotte know that there's been a new acquisition to Monday Night Raw, and we answered our question that we asked while we were reviewing NXT TakeOver. Was this the end of Bayley on NXT? It in fact is, because Bayley is on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, with Bayley being on the Monday Night Raw, I still expect to see her being active in NXT in small doses.
For at least a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Bayley comes out, she's like, oh, I don't want to outshine you, Charlotte, but I do want to challenge you for the WWE Women's Championship. And she's like, whoa, I'm not even dressed to compete. I'm not going to wrestle tonight. But Dana, she's always prepared. That's what I teach her. Why aren't
always
you
be ready for a fight.
Always be ready for a fight, unless you're the champion. Get other people to fight for you. So Mick Foley ends up making the match Bayley versus Dana Brooke on Monday Night Raw. Dana held her end of the deal up really well. It was a good, solid match, and Bayley picks up the win with the hugplex.
Yeah, I think, when word got out that Vince hasn't been impressed with Dana Brooke's performance thus far, I think maybe she's going to be trying to step her game up a little bit.
I would hope so.
In order to not get sent back to NXT.
Yeah. No, and
which isn't to say that that's a bad thing, because
it just gives you more reason to train and get better.
But no one does want to be the person who gets demoted because Vince doesn't like what you're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's bittersweet seeing Bayley on Monday Night Raw. It'll be interesting to see what happens on NXT, but we will address that down the road. We had the tag team titles up next with an intro from Jon Stewart, who was a member of the New Day for the night, seeing as Big E wasn't there to be in their corner.
So I call him Lil J.
Lil J. So yeah, he did an intro, brought out Kofi and Woods, and then the club came out. It was a good tag team match. I didn't feel like there was anything super special other than Kofi's posing dive that he did.
Strike a pose over the top rope.
Where he like Michael Jackson'd in the air.
And it was the trust fall of all trust falls. Because he jumped and did a 180 and went out completely backwards.
Yeah.
And you really have to trust the fact that Gallows was going to catch him.
Luckily, Gallows is a big dude, so you can kind of expect him to be there to catch you if you're half his size. And so then we get very reminiscent of last year's SummerSlam where Jon Stewart gets involved, where it was a very awkward moment where he got in once, and I think he was like stopping them from attacking Woods, and then they turned their attention to him, and he tried to do the too sweet, and then Woods started to attack him, and he got out of the ring, then he got back into the ring, and got back into the corner that he was being stalked in, and so
they tucked his shirt in.
Yeah, because he had a bit where he said if you're after Cena AA'd him last year, his belly was showing, so always tuck your shirt in. So the club starts pulling him over to the ring post to give him a little case of ring post-itis.
Because they brought him out a little jar.
Yeah, they were going to get a sample from him too. But before they could, the New Day music hit. Big E made his return and attacked the club, thus causing the New Day to get disqualified, but retain the tag team titles. It was a dismantling of the club and then a New Day celebration.
Yeah, and it's not very often you see a face team take the disqualification route.
Yeah, I guess when there's a celebrity involved, you kind of have to.
You gotta save the day.
And speaking of New Day celebrations on Raw, it was a celebration because this marked the 1-year anniversary.
365 days.
1 full year.
As the WWE World Tag Team
Champions. Whoa, you got demonic there for a second. And so, they had big old bowls of Bootios. They had a pinata.
A unicorn pinata they were going to hit.
Full of Bootios. They had a decked out kendo stick, and they ended up getting interrupted by the club saying, hey, you guys got yourself disqualified, so we won, so we want a rematch for the tag team titles. And Big E was, he was set for a singles match against Carl Anderson. And
New Day were not intimidated by the club.
No.
They even sort of made fun of him, basically, the way I interpreted Kofi's and Big E's reaction to one of the threats that I think Carl Anderson made towards them, with saying that, I don't have anything to say about what that was, is, they were so frustrated with the club or just so not caring to the point where they're like, we don't even have comebacks for you. You're not worth the time to think up a comeback. Yeah,
Big E's like, oh, Kofi, I thought you had that. I got nothing, so oh well.
Showing that they don't think the club's even worthy of the comeback.
Yeah, and so Gallows said, well, Carl Anderson is ready to dismantle, something else, and decapitate the muscle of the New Day. Carl Anderson was in a singles match against Big E, which was a really good match.
Yes, and he didn't decapitate Big E, though.
No. Big E did end him very bigly, though.
Yeah. He degravified him.
No. I don't think that's a... Well, you're thinking of that. Gallows ends up
smushed him onto the ground.
There you go. Gallows ends up getting taken out on the outside by Woods and Kofi.
He de-escalated his ego.
And then Carl Anderson, who thinks he's got this in the bag, decides to run at Big E, and Big E just swings him right up into the big ending, hits him with it, and picks up the win. So we'll find out eventually whether or not this tag team rematch happens and when it will happen. So now we're going to get into the big storyline here, which all started at SummerSlam, where Seth Rollins fought Finn Balor to be the first ever WWE Universal Champion.
And as one would expect, these two guys put on a hell of a match.
It was a fantastic match.
They did a lot of moves.
So astute.
Yeah, I know. I didn't count the exact number of moves.
But there were a lot of them.
But there were quite a few. Including, Seth busting out a small package driver, which is something he hasn't done since his ROH days.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think he pulled out the Phoenix Splash in this one.
No, he tried, and I think Finn actually rolled out of the... Yeah, he did it once, and Finn rolled out of the way.
Yeah.
Finn had it was. I'm glad they did something new with the paint and the entrance. It was cool. The Liberty Spikes on the eye in the back was really cool. And he was he was in true Balor form. Him and Seth just tore it down. Unfortunately, a lot of the match, the crowd was chanting about how much the belt sucks.
Because it's literally a red version of the WWE Championship.
Very uncreative, WWE. You can do better than this.
Yeah, I don't think the idea is for the belt to look different, though. I think specifically this belt is to look like, here is the Raw Championship. This is the championship on the Raw brand, so it's going to be a red belt. Because I think when SmackDown brings in their new tag team titles, I think they're going to look similar to the current tag team championships, but they're going to be blue.
Ugh. I'm not sure how. With the Spartan things and everything?
Potentially. Ugh. Those might be a different color. They might not be bronze. But I think...
Silver. Go with silver.
They might be blue. The one thing I'm looking forward to with the blue is that I bet American Alpha has matching outfits to go with the blue title belts.
There you go. Because they're going to be winning those titles eventually. If not first.
If this was anything to say about how they feel about the new era.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so one specific move that had more of an effect than we thought it did initially was Seth Rollins running powerbomb to the barricade very early on in the match.
Yeah.
Because anyone that watched it noticed that Finn fell kind of funny. And
yeah, well,
he himself made a mistake.
Yeah, he threw his arm back and protected himself from hitting the barricade, basically with the point of his elbow.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing because if you catch yourself on your elbows, especially if it's not like this way, but if you hit on the point, it's really good at jarring your shoulder out of place.
Which it did. He did, in fact, dislocate and then immediately relocate his shoulder.
He reset his shoulder by pulling on it because that's a common step for a ball and joint or ball and socket joint relocation is to pull on it.
Yeah, straighten it out and then, I mean, kudos to him for wrestling the rest of the match with a dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, well, we found out that it ends up being a torn labrum, which is one of the muscles that, it's a circular muscle that sort of helps hold your shoulder in place.
Yeah. And so despite a fantastic match, multiple attempts and finally hitting the coup de grace and winning the Universal Championship in one of the matches of the night, 24 hours later we find out that Finn Balor is going to be out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Is in need of surgery and has to relinquish the title.
Yeah.
And it's very unfortunate. For me, Finn Balor is he is my favorite on the current roster. And to know that now he's not going to be there for the next 6 months is very disappointing. And it was also very curious as to what direction they were going for this championship.
Yeah.
And so in true heel fashion, as Finn Balor is leaving the ring after giving Mick Foley the championship, he is passed by Seth Rollins, who automatically thinks, well, we know who actually won at SummerSlam last night. I deserve the championship because I was in the thing. And
yeah, so to wrap the SummerSlam Raw side up, the last thing that didn't happen was the United States Championship match.
Which ultimately went into this as well.
It did not happen.
Yeah, it was a United States Championship brawl.
It wasn't even a championship brawl. It was just a brawl
with the U.S. champion.
Yeah. Which it wasn't a bad brawl though. They were beating the crap out of each other.
It was a good fight.
Rusev took a hell of a spear on the floor.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's not have that match, I guess.
And have it be the last. The fact that this happened after the championship, after the Raw championship match,
after both championship matches,
yes.
After the Universal and WWE championship matches.
Yeah.
We have the United States championship match not even happen because apparently Roman's a dickbag.
Roman's just got to have that top spot. Guess what? He had the top spot on Raw too. Because we had a series of people come out after Seth Rollins, all staking claim that they should get a shot at the Universal Championship.
Yeah, Seth was first.
So we had Sami
Zayn, Chris Jericho would come out.
Then Kevin Owens,
Enzo, and Cass would come out.
And then Roman Reigns.
No one really even got on the mic and said anything. They were all just shouting at Stephanie and Mick, who were in the ring.
Yeah, Seth was the only person that actually said anything.
And then they all would start shouting at each other and whatnot. At one point, I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho blamed Sami Zayn for Roman Reigns coming out while he was walking down the ramp. Luckily, the authorities that be on Raw were able to de-escalate the situation before 7 guys just started brawling in the ring.
Yeah. And so Mick Foley likes making series of matches. That's his thing so far.
This is basically going to be a little tournament.
Yeah. Where he decides that there's going to be a series of matches tonight that will lead to what we found out would be a fatal 4-way next week for the Universal Championship.
Yes.
And
so somebody can get the coveted spot of being the second ever Universal Champion.
Third, because technically Vacant is the second champion.
I guess. If Vacant was a person.
Well, most people think he is.
Vacant is the lack of a person.
Yes.
It's an anti-person.
And I feel like, especially with having Sami come out and immediately go after Seth, the crowd was hyped for that. And I think they really shot themselves in the foot immediately having the first match be Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, you know that one of these guys is not going to be in the championship match.
Yeah, and I feel like out of the 4 matches they had, because, not to spoil, but a little spoiler,
we can
the
spoil
other
it.
ones were Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho, Big Cass versus Rusev, and Kevin Owens versus Neville.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Rusev and Neville
They
didn't have
They just
their
kind of
own-
got tossed into the story.
maybe because they're just people that Mick likes. Or thinks deserve a shot. But yeah, what you have is a guy who's still insanely popular with the crowd, despite lousy booking over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Because, like I was griping about on our SummerSlam prediction video, go check that out last week, that Sami Zayn was a last-minute addition to the SummerSlam pre-show.
In a rematch from
Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Raw.
After winning his feud with Kevin Owens in what was damn sure match of the night at Battleground.
Yeah. Where Kevin Owens opened the main card of SmackDown. Or for Raw on SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So, and had a storyline.
But, Zayn, still super over with the crowd.
Absolutely.
And Seth Rollins, the guy who was just in the championship match at SummerSlam. For some reason, that to me says these guys should be the main event of Raw.
Yeah. And these two, with how popular they are, should be both in the championship match next week. Unfortunately, despite a fantastic match between the two of them, where Sami ended up playing an injury after he springboarded back over Seth Rollins' head, ended up having some sort of ankle injury,
Tweaked his
which
ankle
became the focal point for Seth Rollins through most of the match. Sami just, killing it. The selling was great. He was, constantly going for it, but still trying to do all of his stuff and just couldn't quite get enough.
Yeah, and I love that he's still trying to go for all the signature moves.
Yeah.
Like, he thought about running and diving, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to make it, so he just did a slingshot dive over the top rope.
Yeah, and then hobbling to try and hit the haluva kick at one point. It was a good story that Sami told. And then Sami would end up trying to go for a Michinoku driver that Seth was able to reverse out of, hit a fucking flush pedigree. I love the way Sami took that pedigree. And Seth Rollins, of course, moves on to the championship match next week.
Yeah.
So, no Sami Zayn. Now the question is again, where does Sami Zayn go from here? We'll find out next week.
My hopes is challenging whoever wins the Fatal 4-Way.
That would be awesome. Let's do that. Then we had Kevin Owens versus Neville, which is always a great match. One of your favorite indie matches of all time.
Yeah, they did a stellar one on PWG 10 years ago at this point.
And then
they've got immaculate chemistry.
Yeah, it works every time. And so we had more of the relationship between Jericho, as Jericho came down, distracted Neville at one point, allowed Kevin Owens to run all the way around the ring and clothesline Neville. And we continue to have a great match where Jericho gets involved again, ends up causing the distraction for Neville. Neville goes up to the top to set up. He was backwards, so I don't know if he was going for a moonsault or what it was.
Could have been going for his fabled double rotation moonsault.
Ooh, but
or
he would
moonsault leg drop.
Oh, that would have been cool. But unfortunately, Owens would shove his legs out from underneath him, crotch him on the top rope, and then set up and hit the reverse TKO, and Kevin Owens moves on to next week's Universal Championship match.
Yeah.
So now we have Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, so we know it's going to be good there.
Yeah, and then the third one was Cass with Enzo versus Rusev with Lana.
Yeah.
The big story going into this match is that Rusev's ribs are injured following being beaten up by Roman Reigns at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we helped mask a little of the Cass and Enzo inexperience by giving them an easy focal point for their match. Because there's still a lot of elements when I see Cass and Enzo wrestle that are like, okay, they're good, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
They're there with the crowd because they're great hype guys, but they just still have moments in the ring where I go, oh, that's kind of a rookie mistake. Oh, that's kind of a little bit of something they shouldn't have done, or they could have done that differently to have a better outcome in general. But when you have something that's already built into the match, like Rusev with injured ribs, it kind of gives you that, like a stencil for your match to color in.
Yeah. And the tag team scene fits them more than the singles scene does. And so, Cass does what he can against Rusev. He's, like you said, he's got that target to go after. And eventually it just becomes not Rusev's problem. And Rusev walks away. And so Big Cass wins by countout and will now be in a championship match next week with both Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Yeah,
but it wasn't before Rusev kicked the shit out of Enzo.
Yeah, apparently he was offended by the chicken dance. So, a very interesting move putting Cass in the championship match.
And I think it's a big thing. I know Vince is supposedly really high on Cass because of his look.
Yeah, of course he's the WWE looking guy.
Yeah, but I think it's something that's been showing since they've been called up to the main roster, because right after they got called up, they had that match where Enzo got hurt with the Vaudevillains, and like the very next thing that happens, like next week on Raw, Cass goes against Chris Jericho one-on-one.
Very true.
In the main event of that Raw.
And then going into Payback, they teamed up with John Cena to go against the Club. So yeah, I mean, obviously, Vince has quite the hard-on for Enzo and Cass. So, so we'll see how Cass fares next week in the match. And then our last match of the night was the main event, because Roman Reigns has to have that spot. Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho. And it was Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho. Kevin Owens got involved, ended up super kicking Roman in the face. It wasn't enough. He tried to distract him again, and Jericho was able to roll him up. But that was the ending of the match. There is like he rolled him up
too hard,
and so Roman back rolled, and Jericho went, I don't know what to do, and he spun around in a circle, and as he turned back around, Roman hit a spear, and Roman Reigns is now the fourth man in the Universal Championship match. So, next week we'll have a Fatal 4-Way where Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Big Cass, and Roman Reigns will all fight to be the next WWE Universal Champion.
All I can hope is that it's a good match.
Yeah.
That's like number one above all else. I really don't care who wins out of all four of these guys at this point, as long as the match is good.
That's fair.
That's going to be the redeeming quality, because we now have sort of the standard was set at SummerSlam with Finn and Seth having a really good match.
Yeah.
So if this looks like some poorly written, phoned-in bullshit match, it's just going to leave a sour taste in everybody's mouth.
And for me, I feel like it's just too obvious that Seth is going to win it.
Potentially.
So, we'll find out next week. And then as a little segue into what we'll be talking about on SmackDown, because I'm sure there's going to be more repercussions as to what happened.
Fallout with this angle.
Brock versus Orton was the main event. It ended in a very brutal and very controversial way, where Orton was split open. The only thing that was mentioned on Raw is that Stephanie said there will be repercussions on Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, because Shane tweeted that Brock Lesnar, despite being a big deal and being a box office draw, crossed a big line.
Yeah. Not only did he completely destroy Randy Orton and leave him in a pool of his own blood, but he did hit an F5 on Shane McMahon as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about more of that tomorrow on the SmackDown Rundown, as well as you'll find out which one of us is going to be getting a cane shot after our wager from the SummerSlam predictions.
Yeah.
So
keep tuned in on this channel for more reviews.
Yep.
But you're gonna have to check out our other channel. Channel?
Channel. Check out the other channel.
Yeah, our other channel, Reasonable Wrestling.
That's where you got the
Fans,
fumble. Yeah. Okay.
Reasonable Wrestling Fans. That's reasonable with a W in front of it.
Yeah.
Just like wrestling has a W in front of it.
Yeah.
Where in I can only imagine a matter of a day or two, there's going to be a video up of one of us taking a minimum of one kendo stick blow.
Question is, who will that be? You'll find out at the end of the SmackDown Rundown tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe.
And click all those links we just told you about, all the social medias. If you want to check out these reviews as podcasts, check out the SoundCloud. Those of you that are checking out the videos, you'll get extra ones up in the playlist. You'll get CWC. You'll get top fives at the beginning of every month. You get
pay-per-view predictions.
Pay-per-view predictions. Except for this review. This is a little bit different. We're trying this out. We'll see if we continue to do it.
I think this one's going to work. It help condensing the time.
Yeah.
Just because most pay-per-views aren't 13 matches long.
Exactly. So, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you at whatever video you decide to watch next.
Fuck Titus O'Neil.
God.
Fucking dickhead. Senior citizen assaulting asswipe.